Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and nothing feels wrong. Your phone turns on. Your lights work. The internet loads. Slowly, but it loads. At first, everything seems normal. There's no alert, no emergency broadcast, no reason to panic. But somewhere above your head, far beyond the clouds, far beyond where you ever look, something has already failed. And most people won't notice until the consequences begin to stack. Modern life feels solid, grounded, concrete, steel, glass, cables, roads. We're surrounded by physical things, so we assume civilization is built from the ground up. It isn't. Modern civilization is built from orbit down. Right now, thousands of machines are circling the planet at incredible speed. They move silently, invisibly, faster than a rifle bullet. You never see them. You never hear them. You almost never think about them. But nearly everything you rely on touches them in some way. If those machines stopped working even briefly, modern life wouldn't collapse in flames. It would unravel quietly. And that's what makes it dangerous. Let's imagine a simple scenario. Space goes silent for just 24 hours. No explosions. No science fiction drama. No glowing skies or falling debris. Just failure. The first thing that breaks isn't your phone. It's time. Not the kind of time you feel, but the kind systems depend on. Almost every major system that runs modern society relies on ultra-precise timing signals coming from space. Financial markets, power grids, cellular networks, data centers, emergency services. These systems need clocks so accurate that being off by a few billionths of a second can cause errors to cascade. As long as those timing signals exist, everything stays synchronized. When they disappear, systems don't shut down immediately. They drift. At first, it's microscopic. Signals arrive slightly late. Transactions record out of order. Networks lose alignment. Humans don't notice yet, but machines do. And machines react long before people understand why. Financial systems begin flagging inconsistencies. Automated trading slows. Some exchanges pause activity entirely, not because prices are wrong, but because time itself no longer agrees. Power grids shift into protective modes. Cellular networks reduce capacity. Data centers start compensating for clock drift in ways they were never meant to do for long. By the time engineers realize what's happening, the damage has already started accumulating. Then aviation begins to slow, not because planes fall from the sky, they don't, but because navigation becomes less trustworthy. Pilots rely on satellite positioning, even when flying manually. Air traffic control relies on it for spacing, routing, and timing. Without it, safety margins shrink. So flights are delayed, routes are adjusted, takeoffs are spaced farther apart, landings back up. Airports don't shut down, they bottleneck. Shipping follows next. Cargo ships rely on satellite positioning and timing to navigate safely and efficiently. Ports rely on synchronized schedules to move massive volumes of goods without collisions or gridlock. When precision disappears, operators hesitate. Ships slow, ports pause, cargo backs up. This isn't panic, it's caution. Because when precision disappears, risk explodes. Now think about your phone again. You might assume maps stop working first, but maps are only the visible layer. Location services are embedded into ride-sharing, food delivery, logistics routing, emergency response systems, fleet management, and supply chains. When location data becomes unreliable, systems don't crash. They degrade, ambulances take longer routes, delivery windows miss deadlines, traffic systems lose coordination, public transit schedules fall out of sync, cities don't stop, they stutter. At the same time, something else quietly goes dark. Weather awareness. Satellites constantly monitor storms, temperature shifts, ocean currents, wildfire conditions, atmospheric pressure, and cloud formation. They don't just predict weather, they detect change. Without them, forecasting doesn't vanish overnight. It becomes blunt. Storms arrive with less warning. Flood risks are detected later. Fire behavior becomes harder to model. Emergency planners lose their eyes in the sky. Disasters don't become more powerful. They become harder to anticipate. And anticipation is the difference between evacuation and tragedy. Then there's communication. Not all connectivity comes from cables buried under oceans or towers on land. Aircraft, ships, rural regions, disaster zones, and remote infrastructure rely on space-based relays. When those links fail, connectivity fractures. Not everywhere, just enough to matter. Search and rescue teams lose contact in remote areas. Remote hospitals lose access to centralized systems. Emergency coordination slows when speed matters most. The world doesn't go silent. It becomes patchy, uneven, unreliable. And here's the unsettling part. None of this feels dramatic at first. There is no single moment where the world goes dark. Instead, people start using familiar phrases. Systems are down. Services are delayed. We're investigating the issue. Those words sound manageable. They hide how fragile things really are. Because modern civilization isn't designed for missing layers. It's designed for redundancy, but only within known boundaries. Power grids have backups. Networks have failovers. Data centers mirror each other. But space sits above all of them. It's a shared dependency. And above everything else, there's one more layer most people never think about. Traffic. Not on roads, in orbit. Thousands of satellites and millions of debris fragments are circling Earth right now. Even a bolt the size of a screw can punch through a spacecraft at orbital speeds. One collision creates debris. Debris increases collision risk. Risk creates more debris. If enough collisions occur, certain orbital regions become unusable. Not permanently, but long enough to matter. This is the scenario experts quietly worry about. Not a single failure, but cascading failures. A system breaking the systems that depend on it. And here's the most important realization. We didn't design society knowing this would happen. We arrived here gradually. Each satellite solved a problem. Each launch made life easier. Each system stacked quietly on top of the last. Navigation became more accurate. Communication became more global. Timing became more precise. Until one day space stopped being a frontier. It became infrastructure, critical infrastructure. But unlike roads or power plants, it's invisible to the public. You don't vote on it. You don't drive past it. You don't notice it working. You only notice when it doesn't. And that's the real risk. Not that space systems might fail, but that we underestimate how much depends on them. A 24-hour outage wouldn't end civilization, but it would expose something uncomfortable. That modern life is far more fragile and far more interconnected than it feels. That resilience isn't just about backups on Earth. It's about what's happening above it. Because once you see this system, you can't unsee it. Every message sent, every plane guided, every emergency response coordinated, every transaction timestamped, all of it quietly touches space. So the next time you look up at the night sky, remember this. The most important machines in your life aren't in your hands. They aren't in your city. They're moving silently overhead. And modern life depends on them never blinking.